All right, guys, in this episode of Land and Cigars, I'm answering an amazing question directly out of our Discord. Now, if you want to get involved in our Discord, it's landinvestor.co/Discord. And today's question is, what does your team look like? I have a few overseas VAs, but now considering a US-based acquisition manager. Amazing question. And as you guys probably know, I am super passionate about team building. One of the areas that I think I have a unique edge. I think most land investors are so used to being solo operators or having a few VAs. A lot of people don't really think about the team building side of things very deeply. So let me break down how my team works. Now, one of the things that's important to note is in the land business, the actual team all looks pretty much the same for almost all land businesses. And that's actually good news for you. We can take the guesswork on who to hire. The roles are very clear. Now, where you find them, how you train them, how you retain them, that's the secret sauce. But let's go through our team currently. So we have Newman, who's our COO / kind of manager inside of our land business. We have Aries. Aries runs our texting and a lot of our marketing. We have Edgar, who's one of our acquisition managers. We have Jordan, he's another one of our acquisition managers. Edgar's overseas, Jordan is in the US. And then we have a few VAs that kind of float through the business part-time and just helping with some of the back office work. So that's what our team looks like. And really, we've gone through many iterations of trying to figure out what the perfect setup is for our land business. I see a lot of folks that are either in like the hand-to-hand combat stage where they're doing everything themselves. And I've also seen folks that overhire and have ginormous payrolls. We spend about $14,000 to $18,000 a month on payroll. Now, 80% of our team's overseas, so that's why our payroll is so low. That can go up and down because a lot of our roles are going to have pretty big commission incentives. In fact, most of our roles, the team member will be able to double their base salary just through commission, right? So if someone's making $40,000 a year, I want to see that through commission. We have a really clear path to getting them to $40,000 in addition to their base, which would put them at $80,000. And that's pretty much how it is for the vast majority of our team. Now, if we look at a land business, the kind of the sequence we take LIA members through is typically when you're first getting up and running, you're going to bring on what's called the generalist VA. Okay, that's like a mini operator, COO in your business. They're doing just a lot of the little tasks in between. You know, every deal that comes into your business brings 30, 40 different tasks that need to get done, right? Every deal has like this checklist that needs to get done to move it through the business. And so you need someone on the team that really has their hands in all those different buckets: acquisitions, operations, and dispositions. So it's one of the few roles that's really non-specialized. They're going to have to kind of bounce throughout the business. They might be finding title companies at one point, finding drone pilots, updating KPIs, helping scrub records, doing some general TC work, storing documents inside your record keeping system, just all the little minutia in between. And as a solo operator, that frees you up to go really deep on sending mail and talking to sellers. That's where the magic's at in this business, right? It's a direct response business. So we got to get the marketing out the door and we got to talk to sellers. Those are two things that new land investors should over-index on. Now, we can't do that forever. So the next move from there is going to bring on an acquisition manager. Now, acquisition manager, new lead comes in, they're going to do quick DD, they're going to comp the property, they're going to provide an offer range to the seller. We do that in a 2-call approach. First call, we go and build rapport, we touch base. Second call, we actually go and give them our offer range. Now, the cardinal sin that I see with folks on the acquisition side is that they make offers solely based off the property's value. Instead, what we want to do is know what the property's worth, know what we want to pay, but figure out the problem that the seller has, right? Every seller that's on the phone with you has some problem. Could be a really big problem, like they're getting divorced. Could be a really small problem, like they just don't want to use a realtor and go through that process. So you've got to unearth what that is and try to pair up an offer that helps solve their problem. That's the magic of acquisitions. The magic is not deeding properties really good. The magic isn't having a crystal ball and knowing exactly what it's worth or exactly what to offer. The best acquisition managers know how to pull that thread and unearth the problem that the seller is going through and solve it by giving them an offer that makes sense, both for them and for us. The original offer that goes out in your blind offer letter is just posturing. That's rarely the actual offer that we do the deal at. We've had great success both overseas and in the US with acquisition managers. Obviously in the US, you're going to pay substantially more. We found that as we start working on much bigger projects, entitlements, subdivides, the sales cycle is really long and those sellers are looking to have a trusted partner, right? You might be in bed with them for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. It's a long process. And so we've really seen benefits from having US-based acquisition managers that can really speak the language, that sometimes will even go meet the seller in person, that can just go the extra mile to bring these big deals across the finish line. But in your day-to-day standard flipping business, overseas acquisition managers can kick ass. If you're going to the Philippines, you can hire folks out of the BPO industry that have been on the phones for decades and are very polished. There's just amazing candidates all over the world, honestly. And in these roles, we hire for soft skills not the technical skills, right? We're not hiring folks that know about land, that are amazing at underwriting real estate. We're looking for folks that have the right soft skills, and then we train them on the technical skills. Okay, so then the next role someone's typically going to add to their business is what we call an intake manager. Now, an intake manager is going to sit underneath the acquisition manager. Somebody might hear this called a lead qualifier. It's really the same thing. They're going to sit under that acquisition manager, and when a new lead comes in, they're going to do the DD. They're going to do the initial communication through text and email, and that way the acquisition manager is just spending their time on the phones with the lead, because that's where the money's made, right? The more calls, the more talk time they can have, the more deals they're going to do. So we unbundle their role and remove the due diligence section and the offer creation section, have someone else do that, prep the lead in the CRM. Acquisition comes in, they look at the CRM record, and boom, they're calling. Because what you'll notice is every new lead takes about 15 minutes or so for that acquisition manager to prep the lead, and that compounds throughout the day. They might be getting 10, 15, 20 leads a day. That really adds up. And worse than that, it makes them switch tasks, which greatly reduces their efficiency. I'm not looking for how many hours are you going to log every day, work 12 hours a day. That's not my expectation for my team. My expectation is to make them effective. And so we train them to be effective, and we create support systems by having roles that unbundle parts of their role so they don't have to switch tasks 24/7. Now, a generalist VA or a COO or a manager, that's not true. They have to do that. That's part of their job. If you're wondering, this is a real Cuban cigar. The actual sleeve for it fell off, so it's pretty mangled. But thank you, Francis. My good friend gave this to me. And if the government's watching, this is not a Cuban cigar. That was a joke. Now, that intake manager is typically always going to be overseas. It just doesn't really make sense to bring that here in the US. That's a solid $8 to $12 an hour role. Now, if you're going to bring dispositions internal to your business, which I think at a certain point might make sense for some people, if you're doing a lot of volume and you're working in a lot of different markets, finding new realtors for all these markets can be really tough. Let's say you have a high volume flipping business and you work in 25 or 30 states and you're always finding new markets. That's really tough to sink your teeth in and find great realtors in all of them. So bringing that control internal, having control over the marketing, being able to be really fluid and work in all markets without having realtors slow down that process, and avoiding massive realtor fees, right? If you're doing 300 deals a year, what you pay out to the realtor could be ginormous. Now, I'm not saying that's the way for everyone. And in our business, we've started using more and more realtors, but there are many markets we work in where we just don't have that luxury. And even if we're using a realtor, we still recommend having some kind of dispo role that follows up with those leads, that preps those leads, that does the initial intake with the lead. Because what you're going to see is that realtors are not great at lead gen. They're not going to put your listing on all platforms, and they're terrible at follow-up. So I still think you need some kind of ancillary role to support them. They're great at showing the property, walking people through the closing process, making them feel safe, making them feel comfortable. They're great at potentially helping with the underwriting before you do the deal, but you do need a role that helps to manage the leads. And I want to get our listings listed on every listing platform out there, and unfortunately, realtors just won't do that for you. Now, this is almost always going to be an overseas role because, again, the value is created on the acquisition side. It makes sense to invest in US-based roles. Really, when we look at selling properties, there's not much value that can be created, right? We can create a little value through marketing. We can create a little bit of value through getting more leads, more eyeballs on the listing. But beyond that, it's really tough to strong arm people and get them to pay more for a property. Where the inverse is true. On the acquisition side, if you're really smooth, if you're really slick, if you can really unearth that problem for the seller, you can lock deals up at bigger discounts than a less skilled acquisition manager. Now, if you're going to have some kind of texting operation in your business, you're going to need a texting manager, someone to manage that whole process. Definitely not advised for you to do it on your own. I definitely don't recommend having other roles in the business doing that. That's its own standalone role. And then beyond that, it's really about adding in ancillary support roles, right? We have someone on our team that manages our note portfolio. We have someone on our team that helps list all of our properties. And so those are just, again, kind of lower level general VA tasks. They're going to be somewhat specialized. Some of them are going to be part-time. Some will be full-time, right? We have folks that are part-time that scrub our data sets and clean up our records. And that's pretty much the team for a big land business, right? To grow that, you just need more of the same roles. And eventually you start unbundling the roles and providing support under them. So eventually you have a COO and then maybe one or two generalist VAs under them that they manage. And it just kind of becomes this really big hierarchy. Now, one of the roles that we're bringing into our business again this year, we've been without one for 6 or 8 months, is an intake manager. Our lead flow is growing a ton on the acquisition side. So we're bringing in a lead qualifier, an intake manager, and we're bringing in some additional roles to help on the marketing side as we start to branch out into more and more marketing channels. But in essence, that's the team. right? It's really not rocket science. The magic is about finding great people. That's the secret. And a lot of times, folks that are looking for jobs are not the right people. I want to go and hunt down amazing talent because it's what really moves the needle in this business. And I need to learn how to train that talent, how to build an amazing culture for that talent, and how to get them in the right role that can actually get them to their personal goals and create long-term incentives that keep them working day in and day out and keep them in an environment where they feel passionate, where they feel loved, where they feel camaraderie and connection. Because if you can build people that are fully committed in your business, it's like rocket fuel to your business. And this is where so many land investors go wrong. They're so technical. They're so obsessed with the deals and the underwriting and the marketing, and they drop the ball on building an amazing kick-ass team culture. I want to have a team where if I jump off a cliff, the team's jumping with me. We're in it together. I have an army in my business. We're warriors. We go to war day in and day out. And that's the kind of culture I want. Anyways, guys, I hope that helps. If you guys want to learn more about building a badass land business and building a team and scaling out of the day-to-day while growing profits, head over to landinvestor.co/apply. Take care.